As you're on your association's journey to the future, what are the landmarks to recognize along the way? They're actually all around you, but most people don't know what to look for. In this portion of our Roadmap webinar, we'll review how to work with a board's tendency to minimize assessments and take the easy way out, using a sample property to illustrate a familiar stereotype. Then we'll give you the tools to move your association towards behavior that minimizes special assessments and measurably increases your property values. Sure, saving a few bucks a month is attractive, but making thousands of dollars by doing what is already required by your governing documents, that's a win-win.
In this section of the program, we're going to completely skip talking about the laws in the 25 or so states that guide reserve studies or reserve disclosures. And that's because an association does not prepare a reserve study because what the law says in their state. Associations need reserve planning to offset ongoing deterioration that's driven by Mother Nature and Father Time, that slide that you saw just a moment ago. So the deal is, if you prepare well, legal compliance will follow. You don't have to worry about that. Now, let's talk about boards. This is the portion of the program Coley was going to do, and she'll do it this afternoon in the second session. And so she's the PCAM. She's been doing this for years before she became a full-time reserve study provider. So the managers are the agent for the board, but it's the board who makes the decisions. What do we know about board members? Well, we know the theory. The theory is that boards are responsible to run the association successfully, fairly, and in a financially sustainable manner. But the reality that we all know is that they're all too often acting like their job is to keep assessments low. And of course, that's going to sound familiar to you. That's when the boards are pursuing that fool's gold of keeping assessments low, acting selfishly, not acting in the best interest of the association, and following their budgeting responsibilities. They are choosing to not increase assessments, even though they have the power to do so. And of course, they're volunteers, so they're always tempted to minimize the time and energy they spend guiding the association forward. I know we have a lot of board members and homeowners here in the program today. I'm not trying to be mean, but that's really the reality of our community association industry. So we have board members almost by definition, because they're volunteers, they're working hard, trying to do their best, but they just have limited time, limited training, and that often leads them to not tackle courageous projects. So what do? We want to be on the team regularly reminding boards of their job. It helps them keep their eye on the ball. And let me give you a new tool. For people who think that I don't want my dues to go up, that's going to cost me money, I want to let you know that doing the right thing is actually in a board member's financial best interest. Now, let me show you this next slide, how funding reserves adequately makes money for everyone in the association. Now, these are the results from our 2017 study that we did in a big section of Los Angeles, similar associations in a very consistent neighborhood. And we found that home prices on a dollar per square foot basis were 12.6% higher in the associations with well-funded reserves. And those are above 70% funded. And that means a strong reserve fund materially boosts home values. Setting aside, honestly, hundreds of dollars per year in reserve funding maximizes the curb appeal that returns thousands of dollars each year to the owners in maximized home value. So it's not just the board members, but everyone there at the association enjoys the benefit of the place looking sharp and the home values maximized. It's maybe what you might have guessed. You've heard curb appeal is real, but now we have proof. Before we get any further, I want to make it clear that everything we're talking about here today are national concepts based on National Reserve Study standards established way back in 1998, most recently updated in 2023. We're not just talking about the association reserves way in today's program. On those basics, anytime you see this seal on a slide, you'll know we're talking about National Reserve Study standard basics. There's 3 types of reserve studies. We want you to know what you're working with. There's a full reserve study on the top, and then 2 update products, a with site visit update and a no site visit update. So reserve studies come in 3 types. And the next thing to know is that A full reserve study typically only needs to be done once. And that means the vast majority of reserve studies performed in the U.S. are the less expensive with site visit and no site visit updates. Best practice is to perform a with site visit update every third year, and the no site visit updates are to be done in the in-between years. And remember, both the update products are significantly less expensive than that first full reserve study engagement. So let's focus on a with site visit update that you're supposed to do every third year. I'm going to walk you through a client. It's actually a client of mine here. And here's what this all looks like. I picked a pretty simple 2023 reserve study for this property. I'm not sure how much you can really see, but it's got 15 or 20 components here. And it's a townhome property, pretty simple. When we were there in 2023, when I was there in 2023, we saw a lot of deterioration. So we see a lot of projects stacked up in this first year, 86 grand worth. And what they actually chose to do, not too surprisingly, knowing what we know about board members, their choice was to defer most of those projects. And sometimes you say they kick the can down the road. What they did do was replace the spa furniture. They trimmed the trees, and they really liked their spa there. And so they moved the spa heater up and got that done. So that's was their choices for how they faced 2023. Then the next year in 2024, they pushed out all those 2023 projects yet another year and pushed the scheduled 2024 roof replacement out a year. And they were pretty proud of themselves, congratulating themselves on how much money they saved. No reserve projects in 2024. Made it a pretty easy year for them as board members. And then we get to 2025, 2 years down the road, and they deferred most of their projects another year, but they were required by their insurance agent to get the potholes in the driveway fixed. They were trip and fall hazards. So they finally got to that project that was estimated in 2023 as just $2,200, but by this time it had grown to almost $8,000. And kind of the same thing with their roof. It was estimated at about $72,000 in 2024, but because it started leaking and they had some problems with roof leak repairs, it ended up being about a $125,000 project. So it got over $50,000 more expensive. That was a big deal. Lesson here, delaying is expensive, and all those other reserve projects still need to get done. This is going to remind you of that property that Coley showed earlier, that it was just plain deteriorated. And that's board member choices, and that's what we want to help you avoid doing. And in addition, not too surprising, they were in a financial jam because they were thinking, hey, we're not spending money. Let's not set money aside in reserves. So I want to reinforce the idea that expenses are going to happen. They're going to be expensive, and the costs only get worse if delayed. The costs don't go away if you choose to not execute the project in the year that they're scheduled. So our encouragement, update your reserve study regularly and following the funding recommendation. It's in your own best interests.
At Association Reserves, we make the present less stressful and the future more secure. If you want to join us in this mission, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see us address in a future video. Let's plan for your best future.